Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 76 of Buds and Blue Jays. This is your place for all things related to the Toronto Blue Jays. I'm your host, Jesse Burrell, and I am joined, as always, by my co-host, Riley McConnell. And today we are joined by our friend, special guest, a guy who's been on this show quite a bit, Isaac Bass. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Isaac, so glad you're here again. You have done awesome the last few times you've been on. It's been a while. So glad to have you back, man. How have you been?
Oh, I'm good. I'm ready to chirp Jesse when he needs chirping, and I got some good questions for us today.
All right, good stuff. Today on our show, the major transactions for the Toronto Blue Jays are mostly done, but we do have some minor moves that the Blue Jays have done, and there have been some events that are happening off the field, so we are going to discuss those. As you said, Isaac's got some questions he's going to throw at Riley and I, but first, a little programming note for the channel. If you are new here, we are still in our off-season programming mode where we do one episode a week. We kind of touch on all the big topics of the Toronto Blue Jays, maybe do some big picture stuff. But during the regular season, if you're new here, we do 2 episodes every week. We try to cover some stuff after each series. And then leading up to the regular season, we're going to do some projections. We're going to have our hot takes. We might even do some World Baseball Classic coverage. So make sure you like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of that coming into 2023 and beyond. But boys, enough of that. You ready to get into it here?
Let's rock and roll, Jesse.
Let's do it. All right, Riley, after the Dalton Varsho trade, Riley, I asked you what this Blue Jays team needed most, and you said they would still like to add some high-velocity pitchers to this bullpen. And, well, Riley, I think the Blue Jays have been listening to you a little bit. They did make some very minor moves here. And the first one, Riley, this week, the Blue Jays have signed right-handed pitcher Julian Fernandez to a minor league deal. If you don't know who Julian Fernandez is, I don't blame you. He's only pitched in the majors once, and it was for about 3 weeks with the Colorado Rockies, but he's 27 years old. He sits about 99 with a fastball and can touch 103. 103, Riley, that's gas. That's some good stuff. He does throw a changeup as well, 15% of the time. His fastball on the 2080 grade scale is a 70. That's elite stuff. But the downside, the control. Pretty bad. A 20 grade on your control. That's like you and I going out there on the pitcher's mound and throwing, Riley. So, gentlemen, what are your thoughts? Take it away on Julian Fernandez signing a minor league deal.
Well, first off, you got to hand it to a guy. Anytime a guy can toe the rubber and throw 100 plus, I mean, that's a feat all on its own. And with that tool alone, you definitely have what it takes to, try and be a successful pitcher at any level with any organization. Obviously, what's kind of more of a detriment than that being a positive is the lack of control. I mean, when you're walking batters, when you're, not throwing quality pitches, at least 60% of the time, you're in big trouble. And this is a guy who definitely throws smoke. But I mean, if you give him a good handle of a workload, I mean, what's gonna happen even at a AAA level? The numbers are still probably not going to look good as far as his whip goes. He's still not going to have great command there. So of course it's real interesting. I mean, 27 years old, he's not a prospect. Can you really teach a 27-year-old guy, who's probably a career minor leaguer to throw control, that can possibly put him into a major league bullpen? I mean, that's going to take a lot of work. He's not a 21-year-old kid that's coming up through AA, looking to refine his tools. This is a guy who's probably got his best stuff already. And I mean, hey, if he comes up in September for 3 innings pitched and he has 6 strikeouts and gives up 4 walks, I mean, that's kind of what I expect. I mean, if he gets any
method, right?
Well, yeah, but Kikuchi doesn't throw 103. It's certainly interesting, Jesse. I mean, is it going to help us a whole lot? No, but it's good to add that in our organization as far as the depth charts go. I mean, you can't hate on it. It's a real neutral move. I mean, we're Buds and Blue Jays. We're not Buds and Bisons, but we do have to talk about all our levels here.
Yes.
In the Toronto organization. So yeah, I think it's definitely, and no matter where you put him, he's going to make some sort of impact. I think AAA is the impact where he's going to, he's going to be there. Whether he has quality innings or not, that is left up to be determined. I still think he's a guy who could strike out a lot of guys, but also walk a few batters.
Isaac, what's your take?
I'll keep it short and sweet. I mean, I'm a Leaf guy. I'm a big hockey guy. So what the Leafs do every year is they sign a bunch of guys who are going to be either in the minors or their fourth line or depth guys, and they just if one of them works out, one of them works out, two of them work out great, and they're low risk, low reward, or I guess high reward. And
Yeah.
I like the moves that we're making because, like, hey, if the guy can figure it out, who knows? 27. See, it's funny you say that, Riley. He's saying 27. It's not a time to teach control. Well, you say Kikuchi's still on the team, and he signed to a big deal. So let's hope that's not the case. Hopefully, you can learn a little bit and get it back on track. But it's just one of those guys. I like the signing so far. It's just some fireballers. When we go against fireballers like Bautista, and Chapman, well, years old Chapman, but like we never really had that. So it's good that we have the option. If one of those two fireballers work out that we recently signed, great.
Yeah, and I think you nailed it. The Blue Jays are doing here, they are taking darts at a dartboard and hoping one of them can break out. Now, he did have an ERA over 6 in 2022, and the expected stats were just as bad. So I don't want to pump our brakes too hard here. But if you can somehow get the right mechanical change in this guy and get him to do something right, like he could turn into what Felix Bautista was of the Orioles last year. Because if you remember that, he was a guy who journeyman struggled, couldn't throw strikes. All of a sudden, something clicked and his command was good. And he all of a sudden turned into one of the best relievers in baseball. So I'm not saying that's going to happen here, but that is the path of what it's going to look like to make this guy an impact piece on our team. And I think that's what the Blue Jays are hoping for here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a bit of a diamond in the rough thing, right? Relief pitchers are almost relief pitchers for a reason. A lot of them are failed starting pitchers. With Bautista and the Orioles, I mean, it's just you find the right team, you find the right fit. I know that it's good. Not, I mean, hey, a good reliever is hard to come by, but average relievers, guys that are like Isaac said, on the fringe, guys who are at the back end of your bullpen or closers in AAA. They're almost a dime a dozen. You kind of just have to, maybe pick the right one or two to kind of roll with. I mean, I still don't expect him to throw a lot of innings at the major league level, but who knows? Knock on wood, guys. We're not in a situation where we have to use him a whole lot. That would probably mean something has gone wrong on the injury front. And, of course, we don't want to see that. Of course, he could turn into something. There's always potential for that. Baseball is a wonderful sport. As you know, stats can fluctuate year to year, and especially relief pitchers can have tremendous fluctuation in statistics. It just takes a good run, maybe simple adjustments. Now, I wouldn't say we're looking at simple adjustments with this arm. I mean, he does throw hard.
There's work to be done here. Absolutely.
Certainly. I mean, that's what spring training's for. I mean, pitchers and catchers report first for a reason. I mean, when spring training rolls around, I'll personally know more about his current arm. Yes, we saw him in the Rockies uniform. Tough ballpark to pitch in, by the way. Something about the altitude, but I mean, he will fit fine with whether it be New Hampshire or Buffalo. And you know what? It's no loss on signing him, and not a real gain of any as of right now. So wise decision.
And worst case scenario, if he's bad, he pitches in Buffalo the whole year, and then we just cut him off the roster if we need to. This next guy I want to touch on, Isaac, will go to you first. He's very similar into the mold here, and that is right-handed pitcher Junior Fernandez, who we actually got off waivers from the Yankees. So this guy's a little younger, 25 years old. He's got a 4-pitch mix, sinker slider guy with a 4-seam and a changeup. His fastball is thrown around 99 miles per hour, but he can also touch triple digits. He had a 2.41 ERA last year between the two teams, but the ERA estimators had him pretty closer to the 5 range. And you may remember when the St. Louis Cardinals were in Toronto last year, George Springer took this guy deep for a grand slam that turned a 4-3 lead into an 8-3 lead that sealed the victory. What do we think here, boys? Isaac, start with you. Anything different about this guy than our last guy?
Well, I'm actually going to turn it back to you, Jesse, because I saw some of your tweets before we started the show about him. So I think if any of us know more about this guy, it's the same thing for me. If it works out, great. If it doesn't, it's not much of a risk, but I want to hear what you were tweeting about, and I'm sure everyone else does too.
Yeah, I recommend you actually go to our Twitter page at BudsJays. Give us a follow because we sometimes, we just get in the mood to tweet up Blue Jay stats, and this is one of them here. I like Junior Fernandez a lot more than I like Julian Fernandez because his sinker actually grades out very similarly to that of Jonathan Loaizaga of the Yankees. And Jonathan Loaizaga has one of the best power sinkers in the game, a guy who can throw 100 with good movement. And his 4-seam fastball as well also grades incredibly well. There's a metric called Stuff Plus, which just takes a whole bunch of stuff a pitcher does and combines how good each pitch is compared to league average. His 4-seam fastball was 138.4, where 100 is league average, so 38% better than the rest of league average. And I also think Julian Fernandez, Junior Fernandez is a prime candidate for seam shifted wake, which is a very complicated thing. It has to do with physics and stuff, but this is something Alek Manoah does very well with his fastball and his sinker combination to induce a lot of weak contact. So I think there is more upside here than we might think. He just needs to throw strikes more consistently. Can't leave pitches over the middle of the zone. It's the same argument we just had with Julian Fernandez. If he can throw the strikes in there consistently, he could be a very good reliever, and I like the upside of this guy here.
Is he 24? Was his
25?
Age? 25. Okay.
Riley, any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, of course. I mean, for me, the 2-year age difference doesn't exactly jump off the page. Obviously, there is value in that, especially if he has more control. If they're the same kind of guy, you're going to sacrifice 2 miles an hour for quite a bit more control. What I like, Jesse, is the sinker. A sinker is a pitch. If you can locate it well, you don't always have to throw it for a strike. You can throw it low in the zone, it hover around the border on the bottom corners, somewhere maybe in the middle of the strike zone, have it drop down an inch or two below the zone. And it's a very effective pitch. And you throw that mix in with a fastball that's faster, kind of speed up the bat a little bit and get him off balance. So a lot of potential in this, but yet I still find myself thinking that he probably will split a bit of time. He is another guy who's still, is very unproven at the major league level. And right now we are definitely in win now mode. And is he a guy who's going to be an impactful piece for us? Of course, I could see him certainly pitching with us, just based on his repertoire alone.
Yep.
I mean, you can look at statistics pages and not. This is a guy who, if you put him as a high leverage guy in Buffalo, he's going to do some nasty things out there. There's probably going to have a high strikeout and a lot of soft contact, probably some ground balls. Maybe not
Sounds
soft
great.
contact, but a lot of ground balls induced. To have him come in 8th or 9th inning, I think that's perfect, and we could easily see him up earlier in the year. Does he start in our pen? I'm not sure. Again, that's why we got spring training to determine these things. We do have a plethora of guys to choose from at this point who will start the year in the Toronto Blue Jays bullpen, and he could be a very top candidate for someone to fill the back end in.
One last thought, Isaac, before we move on to our next thing.
No, once again, I do like the upside of this type of guy. I'm happy that we're starting to get some fireballs in our system. We haven't had a good history. The last fireball that I really remember, who I guess didn't really turn out, was McGowan. And it's been a while since we've had guys that can throw upwards of 100. I think it could be beneficial because we do have a lot of guys that are more like control, especially in the bullpen. No one really goes above 97. It's good to actually just have one guy in there. And especially if you're like pitching again, if you have someone in the bullpen that can throw super hard and you come against a batter who doesn't do well against high velocity, it's nice to have that one guy that you can put in against them. So
agreed. Just another option at the feet of our coach there, of John Schneider, that he can throw it there. And I think it might work.
I think too, yeah. Like, what does Nate Pearson tops out at 92? I think now.
Higher than that still. But he was like 102 in a point.
I'm fooling you, Jesse. No, it's good to have guys that can throw hard for us, because we do have a lot of guys that do sit. I mean, this isn't the early 2000s when 92 was a very fast pitch. 92 is a slow fastball nowadays. So we got to revolutionize our organization and at least set ourselves up with the potential that we have these guys to put in games.
Yep, it'll work. I just found it very interesting that the Blue Jays now have a Julian Fernandez, a Junior Fernandez, an Adrian Hernandez, and let's throw Julian Merriweather in there to make it all more confusing. It's going to be a broadcaster's nightmare down in Buffalo for that team there. Speaking of Buffalo, we got another pitcher who's going to go there. We have re-signed our old friend, right-handed pitcher Casey Lawrence, to a minor league deal. We saw him in Toronto. He was not good. He had an ERA over 7 with his time in the big leagues, but 23 starts for Buffalo, 126 innings, 2.79 ERA, 21% strikeout rate, a 3.5% walk rate. These are things Ross Stripling kind of did last year. And yes, his time in the major leagues didn't look good. And he's not really has high upside as a pitcher either. He's going to be a guy that's going to get time in Buffalo. And God forbid something happen to a pitcher in the big club rotation, we might see some Casey Lawrence get some starts this year.
I couldn't disagree with you more. I don't want Casey Lawrence anywhere near the mound.
Ooh.
Honestly, it's just one of those things, man. I would rather have Tyler Chatwood start a game for
Wow.
us than Casey Lawrence.
Just because he's got the upside, or what's your reasoning here?
I just didn't like. I do remember him pitching for us, and I think that I just think that age is a huge minus for this guy.
He's 35 too.
Yeah, and I just think I think he's really inexperienced. I think I think he himself would be happy with just being an older veteran minor league player. And I think that a lot of people feel the same way. Like you're still playing professional baseball, but I think that if I would be very, very concerned to see him on the major league mound for us. There's just a lot that can go wrong with having them there. He doesn't have any extraordinary tools. And yes, I'm not talking about having a Greg Maddux or a Randy Johnson every time we of course, every time we take the field and have a pitcher on the mound who's going to be like that. But I do want someone who's going to at least give us a chance to win. And the odds of him going 1-2-3 in an inning are probably less likely than if he was to give up a run or walk two batters.
Hey, that's why he's in the minor leagues there, right? Isaac, you have a thought on the re-signing of Casey Lawrence?
I'm going to relate it back to the Leafs. I don't know how many of your watchers are Leaf fans. You guys probably half of you hate me, but there was a guy named Czechoslovakian stud Martin Marincin back in the day who we re-signed for 4 straight years to be our ninth defenseman. And if he came up, you were just closing your eyes every time he was on the ice. But he was better than the 10th defenseman. And that's exactly what I think Casey Lawrence is. It's God forbid you have 4 injuries and you have to bring him up, but he's better than some. So why not?
Yeah, you're going to need depth, right? At the end of the day, and that's all this is here. Moving on now, it was announced that Hyun Jin Ryu, our old friend, was targeting an early July return from his Tommy John surgery that he had mid-June last year. Now, Ryu was amazing in the COVID-shortened 2020 season, and he was quite good in the first half of 2021 before kind of struggling in the second half of that season, and he wasn't that good, to be honest, the first half of 2022 before his injury. So, guys, let's get the Buds and Blue Jays official take here. What is our thoughts for Hyun Jin Ryu this year? What are we expecting out of him this season?
Bassy, I really want you to start with your take, just because I think I have quite a bit to say.
All right. I'll keep it short and sweet again. I recently read an article, maybe it was the same article as Jesse read, about the timetable. He's older. They're saying August or late July would be something that, if he was really on the right track, he could come back by then, but he's 35 years old. It might be a little bit later in the year, end of August, September. By that point, he's going to have to go through getting some pitches under him. I don't expect much from him at all this year. If God forbid you need him as a 5th guy, I don't think he touches a playoff mound, and he can't be a bullpen arm because he just doesn't have the stuff for that.
Right. So what's his role?
I think his role is you have him under contract and there's nothing really you can do. And maybe he comes in and pitches a few starts at the end of the year if you need him in a pinch. But if not, then Hyun Jin Ryu might not see the mound at all.
All right, Riley, let's hear it.
Many moons ago, Jesse, there's this team that's really, really good at scouting international pitchers, specifically in the eastern regions of Asia. That'd be the LA Dodgers. Of course, they got guys like Hideo Nomo back in the 90s and ended up picking up this pretty good arm, a left-hander from South Korea, that being Hyun Jin Ryu. Now, when he started his career with the LA Dodgers, he was very good and very effective. The Toronto Blue Jays then signed him, and we were excited.
I was pumped.
I could honestly say when we acquired him, I was very excited. What we were getting, I knew exactly what we were getting. This is a left-hander with immaculate control, great location on the fastball, great location on the changeup, and some good stuff, not nasty stuff when he wanted. It was very particular, but his fastball changeup combination certainly great, really good at getting soft contact. But Jesse, I just feel like his control's there, but it's about locating pitches. I feel like he's a guy who could get hit around a lot.
We've seen a lot of that over his last
definitely seen a lot of that that shortened season in 2020, he really showcased a lot of his good stuff. That was, I mean, one of his best years. Obviously not for the counting stats because it was a shortened year, but I fear as though that's probably the best version of Kikuchi the Jays will, or sorry, best version of Ryu, the Jays will see, as I just can't see him coming back from Tommy John surgery and being that same pitcher that we got, I mean, in 2019 and then in 2020. I think that this is probably a guy who's going to spot start some games for us. And I do agree. I don't think he should be a relief pitcher, but I think that's kind of what it's going to end up being. I could see him being a mop-up role guy, right, or pitching basically a no leverage situation. I don't like this guy came to the majors and where he already had made it big in international baseball, and hasn't played in the major leagues all that long, as he was 30 or above when he debuted.
He was 26. He was 26 when he made his debut with the Dodgers.
Oh, well, fair enough. He pitched really well for LA. He did really well in his first little bit with Toronto, and then I just feel as though this injury is going to hinder him quite a bit. Yep. And I just don't see him fully recovering and making it to the hill in a playoff game, like Bassey said, or, really going the distance in ball games. I can see him getting hit around by the 5th or 6th inning. I can't see him going really 7.
It might even be the 3rd or 4th inning.
I mean, let's not even set the bar low. Let's set the bar medium and say that even if we get 5 good innings out of him, I love the guy when he came here. I mean, the contract's not looking, exceptional well right now, but it's a contract we can definitely live out. For sure, it's not going to kill us. But
it's done at the end of this year.
I mean, let's just probably keep him in as a spot starter or a no leverage situation. That's my take. And at least start him off with a small workload anyways when he comes back. We got to go easy on him. We really got to go easy on this guy, use him sparingly. And I don't think we do kill his arm this year. I do think that that John Schneider,
so I think we're all
and the rest of the staff will use him accordingly.
Yeah, I think we're all on the same page here, that we don't think we're going to get much value. Anything we get is a little bit of a bonus, but I think all three of us are kind of in agreement that anything from Hyun Jin Ryu this year, counting on it, is a mistake. Would I be right in that?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Absolutely.
Let's move on from Hyun Jin Ryu, and I want to talk about something that happened in Boston recently, and they just signed their star third baseman, Rafael Devers, to an 11-year contract, $331 million. And I only bring this up because it's kind of setting a baseline for what a Vladimir Guerrero Jr. extension might look like. They're roughly the same age. They're both franchise players for their team, respectively. Now, I don't think it's a hot take if I say Vladdy is better than Rafael Devers, right?
Yeah.
Right. Good. So no matter what Red Sox fans have to say about that, because they've been very loud on Twitter, but 2 questions, I guess, boys. 1, are we going to sign Vladdy to an extension? And 2, if we do, what does it look like?
We absolutely have to sign Vladdy to an extension. I mean, you see the rest of the league doing this to their superstars, and Vladdy's a guy that we have to lock down. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if the contract's got to be around 10 years. That's probably more than that, probably the minimum. Yeah, it's probably the minimum at 10 years. And as far as the dollar value amount, boy, I mean, if he went out there and if he topped his 2021 season, Jesse, and he hit over 50 home runs, boy, that would for sure look like a $300 million contract.
Probably more, probably even $400 million.
I think that's the ballpark number for me, is $300 million right now on Vladdy Jr. for 10 years. That's something that's just round. That's basically just kind of a round number both ways. But I mean, he's going to make ridiculous money, and the guy needs the term.
All right, Isaac, what are your thoughts?
What did Aaron Judge get?
Oh, he got a lot. Let me look that up real quick.
Just while you're doing that, just because, if we're not going to pay what he asked for, the guy knows that he has leverage to go anywhere, and people are going to pay him. Yes. That's the tough thing about having teams like the Dodgers and the Yankees in the league. And I mean, in our own division, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But so he has all the leverage here, and he knows that the Jays haven't really had a franchise guy like him very much throughout their history. So it's like Austin Matt, you give him what he wants. You give him what he wants, the 350 million this year. We'll see how he performs, but I think that's going to be the number. It's probably going to be a little bit more than Devers, because what happens in the NFL too is like one guy signs a contract, the next year the guy's like, I want to be higher,
Yes.
I want to be higher,
Yeah.
I want to be higher. So I think it's going to be higher, but we have to sign him. Agreed. You absolutely have to. We need a franchise guy for 10 years, and that would be absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
I'd be happy.
Worst case scenario is you have Vladimir Guerrero Jr. suiting up in a Yankees uniform in 2026. Like that cannot happen. Like the Blue Jays would be disowned as a franchise if we allowed that to happen here. Aaron Judge got 9 years, 360 million, and he was already pushing 30. You know, he's a lot of money and whatnot. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is still so young. I am worried that this team might actually try to take Vladdy with this core, take him to free agency, and then maybe try to make the push on a ton of money. But boy, that is incredibly risky. And I think you could just solve a lot of headaches if you just went ahead and did it now. But I'm not exactly certain the Blue Jays are going to do it. Plus, you run the risk if he goes out this year and has a monster season, he's only going to get more expensive, right? So maybe it wouldn't be the worst time after he's had a little bit of a down year where the ground ball rate was up. You know, he was only like a 4-win player this year or something like that, that maybe you try to get it now. But they're smarter than that. His agent's smarter than that. They know Vladdy's going to get paid no matter what happens. So we'll have to wait and see.
Absolutely. We got to lock down our young guys, Jesse. Like, I'll tell you what, boys. When I play my MLB 22, I do the Jays, obviously. If I'm not playing with the slummy Oakland A's, I will play with the Toronto Blue Jays. And the first thing I do, Jesse, is I love to send out extensions. End up Alek Manoah. It would be, well, $400 million over 10 years, basically, I think. Or, well, basically, can't do the math right now because my brain's not working. But basically, it's $20 million a year for 10 years.
Yeah, I don't think they're signing that. If the Jays offer them that deal right now, they're saying no.
Yeah, absolutely, because they've gotten just that much better, Jesse. That's the problem. And Vladdy, yeah, he didn't have the year for power. The guy just won a Gold Glove. He's won a Silver Slugger. I mean, so when you got that in your trophy case and you're his age with his ceiling, I mean, boy, I look out. Yeah, I want him in a Blue Jays uniform for at least 10 years, if not 20 years, Jesse.
Well, I think we all do. Look out for spring training, because when these players do sign extensions, it's usually in the spring training season. So we will talk about this a little more as we get closer to spring. 3 more quick notes. We want to say a nice hearty congratulations to Alek Manoah, who just announced on Instagram that he is now engaged. So sorry, ladies. Alek Manoah is now off the market. And Alejandro Kirk announced on Instagram as well that he will be having a child. So congrats to him and to the Kirk family. And one more note, guys, the Blue Jays winter tour is coming back for the first time since 2019. And of all the stops they're going to across Canada, they are hitting up Toronto and Vancouver, and that's it. That's their Canadian winter tour. So I myself made a bid to try to get to Toronto to try to get some autograph sessions from the team up there later this month, but that's it. Have you guys ever been to a winter tour? Do you guys have any thoughts about it before we get on to some other stuff?
I certainly have not been to a winter tour, as I hardly live the lovely Prince Edward County. However, it is very cool. I do love the media and press that the Blue Jays get. I find it so positive, and I find that the guys that the Blue Jays have are just such genuinely good people. And I mean, it would be cool because we got new guys on the team, Jesse, and there's some new impactful guys. Dalton Varsho, for sure would be an interesting one.
Riley, you just want to meet Matt Chapman. Let's be real.
Well, I mean, that's a no-brainer. Actually, about 3 weeks ago, I met him in a dream I had.
Nice.
And probably the nicest guy that has appeared in one of my dreams. I was actually at a concert.
Say less, man. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. All around good guy.
Good. We heard it right here first, right from Riley's dreams. Matt Chapman, certified good guy. We'll take that. Isaac, quick thought on the winter tour before we move on to our games we're going to play here.
One thing that I think would be cool. I don't know if other teams have ever done it, but like I know in different sports they have like Hard Knocks, and then there's the Blueprint for the Leafs and stuff. Can the Jays do something like that? Like that would be so cool. Like just to start off the season with like going over. I know they had the playoff preview thing, but post those more consistently. Let people get to know their stars, especially if you're doing all these renovations and you're about to pay a couple guys $400 million. Like, you're going to need people to like fall in love with these guys so that you can afford it. You need more people coming to the ballpark. I think it'd be super cool if they did something like that this year, because this is the year we win the World Series. So why not document it?
Sure. I mean, you hit the nail on the head, man. I know like the Ottawa Senators, for goodness sake, have something like this. I know the Toronto Raptors have the open gym. So like they've got something like this. The Blue Jays are owned by Rogers, who owns Sportsnet. They have their own TV channel to do it. Like, I think you've hit the nail on the head. It's kind of ridiculous, actually. We don't have a program like this. And I know, just talking from people online, this would do so well. The only thing I think that might hold it back is maybe the MLBPA doesn't want to give the rights to the players without the players getting a significant portion of the revenue. And maybe the league doesn't want to do that, but that's just a stab in the dark. I have no idea. I think it would be a good idea if they were to make it happen.
Yeah, and make these two the hosts. Let's go.
Absolutely. All right. Well, Isaac, we brought you on here because you wanted to quiz the Buds and Blue Jays crew here about some questions you might have, or maybe some burning questions that maybe some other our fans have here as well. So you can go ahead. I'll let you take the host seat here, and you can let us know. And Riley and I will put our thinking caps on, and we'll spit some answers out for you. You ready?
All right, let's do it. So I have three separate, these aren't necessarily quizzes. I didn't do like a trivia thing, but we have three separate categories that you guys can choose from. The first one is buy and sell. Second one is this or that. And the third one is opinions. So the opinions will be a little bit more like random questions. This or that is obviously this or that. And buy and sell, everyone knows that one. So Jesse, you can start us off. Which one do you want to start with?
Let's take the quick ones out of the way. Let's do buy or sell. We'll go with those first.
Buy or sell. The Blue Jays are top 5 in the major leagues in home runs next year.
I will buy it, but I do think we're going to hit less than we hit last year. What do you think, Riley?
Oh, absolutely. I'm in the exact same boat as you. Buy, and I think I don't know how many home runs less, but I think that we'll be right around that mark, Jesse.
Didn't we lead baseball last year? I think we were close. We were top 5, and yeah, losing Teoscar is going to suck. But if we get the MVP season from Vladdy that I think we might get, Bo Bichette takes a step forward, and everyone stays healthy, I think we should be there.
Buy or sell? Riley, you can start off this one. Berrios will be the 3rd starter ahead of Bassett by the end of the season.
Ooh, I'm gonna sell that one. I think that I know what Chris Bassett can do. I watched him pitch a lot with my Oakland A's, and he's going to be very effective for this team with the defense we have put behind him. And I think he's kind of like a fine wine. He's getting up there with age, but he is still very, very good out there. And I think that we put a team behind him that can win him ball games. So, and Berrios has a little bit of work to do before I can tell, but I think Bassett's our number 3 guy. So sell.
I am also going to sell this as well. I'm not fully now. There are a lot of smart people out there that are believing in a Jose Berrios bounce back and that it can happen. I don't, at least not yet. I'd be willing to be convinced otherwise, but I'm not buying that Jose Berrios. He's going to be better than last year, yes, but I am not buying that he's going to be full, complete Minnesota Twin Jose Berrios. And I love what Chris Bassett can do with the thing. Assuming both players stay healthy, I will say Chris Bassett ahead of Jose Berrios on the pitching chart.
All right, next one, Jesse, you can start this one. There's a reason you're starting this one. Nate Pearson pitches 30 plus innings this year in the major leagues. 30 plus.
Buy it, put money on it, sell the house. It's going to happen.
Jesse, he pitches under 10 innings. I'm selling it.
Riley, you're hurting me. My soul, man.
He pitches under 10 innings. Put on a t-shirt.
Oh, I'm actually going to buy a Nate Pearson jersey now and prove you all wrong.
I don't want to promote gambling on this podcast, but you're not monetized yet, so maybe I will. Sure. I would like you guys to do a friendly little bet on that one, because I feel like you are both just completely opposites. Can we agree to a bet on this one? Do we got any like fun things?
29 and a half.
Mustache?
No, 29 and a half is our line, right? So
that's our line.
30 or more. I think we could do it. Riley, we could come up with something. And if you guys watching below want something fun to do, leave a comment down below. We are 100% looking for ideas. We can make Riley do something very embarrassing come season's end. Yeah. I'm guaranteed.
Yeah, let's see those in the comments, and we'll figure out something for your next episode. All right, buy or sell. Riley can start this one. The Jays make the biggest deadline acquisition this year since 2015.
Like league wide or for their personal team?
For their personal team.
Oh, well, let's see. That's yet to be determined. But for the optimism and everything like that, making a playoff push where we're already well ahead in the division. But I'm gonna buy it. I would love to get a piece. In 1993, we acquired Ricky Hernandez. You might have heard that name once. He's at the top chart in the record books.
Ricky Henderson?
Yeah, absolutely. So maybe we do the same thing in this year in a World Series winning year. I'm going to buy it.
I might sell. I don't know. The Blue Jays were pretty underwhelming at this year's trade deadline, and I think we're going to get our hopes up all for this next year that we're going to do something big, and I think it's just going to be they'll fill a team need. It probably won't be the sexiest name. I don't think they're going to make the biggest splash come the trade deadline. We'll see, though. Lots of time between now and then.
Okay, so you're going to hold that one if we had a hold option.
I guess I'd sell.
Okay, sell. Okay. Buy or sell. 3 or 4 of these pitchers will see major league time. Nate Pearson, Zach Pop, Jasper Zuleta, Hagen Danner, Hayden Younger, I don't know how to say that name. Younger.
Yeah.
Younger. Julian Fernandez and Junior Fernandez. Do 4 of those pitchers see major league time this year?
I vote yes, and I'll put it at 7 of them do, just because they churn out through so many pitchers. And if these guys are all going to take a step forward, assuming health, I say 7 of these 8 guys make an appearance with Toronto this season.
Right.
I would love to see Zuleta toe the rubber. He's a very cool prospect for us. I'm going to go the opposite way just to play a little devil's advocate here with you, Jesse. I'm going to say sell. And I'm going to say that, yes, Nate Pearson does in fact throw a couple innings. Zach Pop is going to be up there for sure. But I just don't see the Hagen Danners and guys like that making a lot of innings and making it up.
You'll be surprised, Riley. Just wait. We'll do a prospect episode here. We'll
surprise me.
All right. Riley can start this one off. Buy or sell. The Blue Jays win the pennant this year.
I'm making that purchase. I am buying. I say we win the pennant this year.
Homer.
We're Buds and Blue Jays.
No, of course we have to say yes, they're going to win the pennant this year. If I'm speaking with my head, I don't think it's going to happen. But if I'm speaking with my heart, which trumps the head every day of the week, Blue Jays are going to go win the pennant this year.
All right. That was the answer. There was no other answers I would have accepted there. So I'll take that one. All right. We have 3 more buy or sells. Guess you start this one off. If healthy, Kevin Kiermaier is our starting center fielder in playoff game 1.
Yes, only because of the defense. I think he's going to start in center. He's going to bat 9th. There's people hyping up the offense this year. I'm not buying it. But if he's healthy and he doesn't lose a step on his sprint speed or anything like that, he will be starting in center field.
Absolutely. When he's healthy, he will be the center fielder. And yes, he will hit 9th virtually every game for us that he plays.
All right. Buy or sell, Riley. Alek Manoah throws 2 complete games this year.
Ooh, I would love to see it. I would love to see Jesse. I know we're big. We talk 2 different things in this, and I would love to see us up by 5 runs going into the 8th and then give him the 9th inning. Because I hate doing it in a 2-0 game. I'd love to see 1. I'm going to sell. I think he gets 1.
Yeah, we talked about this quite a bit. There were at least 2 separate occasions last year where Manoah was pulled late going into the 9th. I remember one against Cincinnati and one against Pittsburgh where he had a low pitch count even too and could have gone in there. I'm actually going to buy this one, Isaac, because I think the addition of Don Mattingly, whose Marlins staff led the league in complete games last year, is going to do an impact and going to help these guys maybe go for the complete games this year. So I'm going to buy it. Give me 2 for Alek Manoah, even though the Blue Jays had 0 this year.
Yeah. Okay, I like it. The last buy and sell, Jesse.
Yeah.
Blue Jays will have a player that starts in the minor leagues, comes up at some point through the year, and is a star right away.
A star right away. The only person I can think that immediately fits this build is Ricky Tiedemann, which if you were going to do this, it's going to be, he's going to start in Buffalo. He's going to do what Alek Manoah did his rookie year. Give it to the end of May. He's going to come up and hit the ground rolling. Now, that is a lot to ask for, even though he is one of the best pitching prospects, and I'm personally all about Ricky Tiedemann. Big Dick Rick, as some people are calling him around the Blue Jays circles here. But it's hard to bet on. And if you told me to take Tiedemann out of the field, I would take Tiedemann. You know what? We're feeling confident. Let's do it. Tiedemann's going to come here. He's going to hit the ground running, and he's going to be great for this team.
Well, I would say if you were to ask me this next year, I'm going to say that it's going to happen in 2024. I think for the 2023 year, we're probably not going to have that same thing that happened with Alek Manoah. Are we going to get some good appearances from some guys that have played in the minor leagues and making their debuts, getting their cup of coffee? Yeah, absolutely. But I don't think you're going to guy who's going to run with the 26-man roster for the remainder of that year.
Okay. So Addison Barger, you sit down. All right. So we're going to move on to the this or that category. We're going to start off with one that's near and dear to Riley's heart. Who finishes the year with more home runs, Dalton Varsho or Matt Chapman?
Ooh, excellent question, Isaac. Really starting off with the hard one. So I'm actually going to go out and stick to my true and blue because I believe it's going to be close. And I think it's going to be Matt Chapman for sure. And I think if I'm just going to give you a round number, I think it's going to be 29 to 24 or 26. I don't know if they're both 30 home run hitters. It's going to be close, but my boy Matt Chapman, he could hit 30 home runs this year. He could, but he's going to have more than Varsho.
Isaac, this is hilarious because I also wrote this exact same question as one of my this or that's, whether it be Matt Chapman or Dalton Varsho. I'm not completely sold on Dalton Varsho's bat. He's got some good things that he does really well, but I think I'm going to buy into Matt Chapman in a contract walk year, having a better power season. So I vote for Matt Chapman.
Okay. All right, Jesse, you start this one off. Who will get more votes as either Cy Young or MVP? Vladimir Guerrero or Alek Manoah?
Can I go off board and pick Kevin Gausman? Because I've said multiple times on this show, I am adamant that Kevin Gausman is winning the Cy Young Award next year. So I will take that. If he's going to win, therefore guaranteed he's going to get the best votes. But if you made me pick between just the two, Vladdy or Manoah, I'm actually going to probably take more Vladdy votes than Alek Manoah votes, just because I think if this Blue Jays team has aspirations of winning the World Series or winning the pennant, they need MVP Vladdy back. So I'm going to bet that we get it, and it'll be a good thing for this team going forward.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more that we need. I think that Vladdy too will receive more than Manoah, but it's again, it's a 1A, 1B kind of situation where we have a top 3 AL pitcher and a top 3 AL position player, and who's just going to have the better year. I'm going to put my money on Vladdy as far as vote getting, as far as how they do wars, whatever. I mean, they're both going to be awesome. Who are we kidding? But yeah, I'll stick to more MVP votes for Vlad.
All right. So we're going to move on to the next segment. Do any of these names for a depth outfielder make you excited? And do you think we're going to sign any of them? Adam Duvall, Lance McCutcheon, and Grossman. Or we can go other.
I really like Cole Calhoun. I think he's still available up there. He'd probably be my number one choice. But none of these names really excite me. If I had to rank them, I'd probably go McCutcheon, Duvall. Who was the last guy you said? Grossman.
Grossman.
That's probably the order I'd rank those three. But to be honest, I'd rather just let Spencer Horwitz or Addison Barger take that spot on the roster and see if they can run with it.
Jesse, you know me. You know I like my team guys. I gotta hit you with. I gotta go Grossman. He's a switch hitter. He's a good tool guy. He's not gonna flash you in any great category. You know, nothing really stands out. But it's a guy who can play the outfield, the lefty glove, a switch hitter, bat. I mean, a cool mix guy. He could potentially be a fourth outfielder. I feel like he's a good fourth outfielder for a lot of teams. Real low budget guy. Not going to do a whole lot of great things. I mean, if he played 162 games, he probably won't even hit 10 home runs. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I like him. I know what he can do on the field. He's definitely, you know, not going to hurt you that much. But then again, he's not going to win you too many games.
All right. Who is our opening day starter at second base? Riley, start off. Merrifield, Espinal, Biggio, other.
Well, actually, I would like to know who's starting on the hill as far as lefty righty, and if we still have these guys. Well, who am I kidding? It really doesn't matter. I'm starting Santiago Espinal at second base to start opening day. And that's it right there. I don't think I need to explain myself. I think that is the right thing to do.
Because I have a different answer. I pick Whit Merrifield.
Okay, well, the guy was an all-star. He still has a lot to prove at the major league level. I think that, yes, as his power quietly disappeared last year, he is still a plus defender. He can get on base. He puts bat on ball, and he's a good mix in the batting order. A guy who will hit lower that can still possibly hit for an above average guy, probably 260-ish, which isn't great, but he's also not going to strike out a whole bunch. I like Espinal. I think he should start opening day at 2-bag.
Yeah, see, I think all those things you just said, Riley, I think that sounds perfect for a guy coming off the bench and a guy who can play multiple positions and whatnot. He's a natural platoon partner with Kevin Biggio. I say we let Whit Merrifield take that spot, especially if he has a good spring, because he was good down the stretch and he started the playoff games for us over Santiago Espinal. So I think that might tell you where John Schneider's head at the second base position.
Yeah, there's also something for me about a guy that can hit an infield ball, and you're just every single time he hits a ground ball, you're like, he could beat out the throw. I don't know what it is about those guys. I've always liked those guys. I feel like Merrifield is just hustles, and I like how we gained a lot of guys this year who just hustle and can make those ground balls into base hits. That's a huge thing for me. That's why I prefer him a little bit more than Espinal, but he also doesn't hit the long ball like Espinal does. So you both have valid points. Who wins the 5th starter spot? Jesse, you can start this one out. Kikuchi, White, Pearson, Tiedemann, other.
It should be Ricky Tiedemann. Like, let's be real. And I think there's a non-zero chance too, as we get into spring training, that he might actually make this team, because if he does come top 3 in Cy Young Award voting or Rookie of the Year voting, the Blue Jays will get compensated with a draft pick. So I think that's what the decision should be. Now, what I think the Blue Jays are actually going to be, it's Yusei Kikuchi. Scott Boras is his agent. He's going to be adamant that Yusei Kikuchi gets in there. And plus, I'm still convinced that there is a good pitcher inside of Yusei Kikuchi, and I'm not ready to sell the ship yet.
There is a good pitcher in Yusei Kikuchi. I'm also going Yusei Kikuchi, and it's kind of the how bad can it get thing, and it's not going to be. Same with Barrios. It's not going to be that bad. He's not going to put up stellar numbers. He's going to work on his craft a little bit. Yusei Kikuchi will be our 5th starter.
Now, I do
Why
want to
the
say
eye roll, Riley? That was a massive eye roll. Ricky Tiedemann.
Yeah, I don't. So I don't want to spoil a good prospect, man. I don't want to shatter his confidence. Like, hey, look, I want to bring up a guy that's going to be an impact MLB player as soon as you guys do. But I'm a realistic guy, and let's do it in 22. Let's talk you know what? Let's even have this talk in June about where Ricky Tiedemann is at.
He'll be with the big club by then.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So.
Then I guess we'll talk about it during or after spring training, Jesse, because as of right now, it doesn't look like he's going to be the 5th starter. Now, at the end of the year, who the hell knows? I mean, I don't know. Do I see it? No, it's unlikely, but anything's possible.
Riley, be prepared, because I'm going to ask you this question several more times before the season starts, and we'll see if your answer wavers at all based on, hey, say we get to see him pitch in spring training, and say he shuts down the Yankees for 4 innings. I'm going to ask you then again. It'll be the topic of spring. Before we move on to the next question, I do want to make a point about Mitch White, though. He was quite good with the Dodgers. He only had maybe 2 bad starts in there, and his FIP and a lot of his expected stats with the Blue Jays were significantly better than his ERA was while he was with the team. So there is a chance he comes in there, but Kikuchi's our guy. Throwing with him.
If I thought we were going to receive an eye roll for anything, I thought it would be Jesse saying any praise to Mitch White from you, Riley. So I'm impressed that you held it back there. All right. We have 4 questions on opinions. These ones are a little bit more random and just fun ones. So let's start off. If you could have one player from the 2015 Blue Jays roster on this team now, who would it be? Jesse starts off.
I'm actually going to pass this one to Riley, because I'm going to look for a deep cut.
A deep cut. I mean, here's the question: are they performing at the level that they did in 2015?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then, I mean, it's an obvious choice. It's got to be Josh Donaldson. That is the obvious choice.
Yeah, the MVP guy, right?
Yeah, this is a guy who won an MVP. I mean, I would pass the buck for Matt Chapman on this one, as sad as that is to say. If we get anytime you get a chance to have a guy who's an American League MVP, you got to have him on your ball team. Josh Donaldson had an illustrious time with the Toronto Blue Jays. Really, a lot of good memories that come to mind when you say the name Josh Donaldson in a form. I mean, yes, you could say, maybe a prime David Price if we're going back in like maybe his earlier years, things like that. I mean, for the purposing of this question, it's 2015. You got to go with the guy who won the MVP award. That's my opinion, Jesse. I mean, I'm sure I'm not too far off with you here.
That is the right choice. And also, you couldn't go wrong with Jose Bautista either. Guys are matches. Bautista is one of the best Blue Jays of all time. But I'm going to give you some 3 deep cuts here. Number 3, I wanted to give to Munenori Kawasaki. Just to know for the vibes. It was fun to have Munenori Kawasaki around here. Definitely not in terms of his pure talent and stuff, though. Ezekiel Carrera would be like a second deep choice, left-handed hitter off the bench. A guy I saw have a walk-off bunt. Yes, you heard that right. I was there in person. He had a walk-off bunt, so that was really cool if you're a big fan of bunting. But my number 1 choice would be Troy Tulowitzki. I kind of missed the claps and everyone go too low. I missed those chants quite a bit. And Tulowitzki was one of my favorite players of all time, even before he became a Blue Jay. And let's be real, if he wasn't on the roster here today, he's your shortstop. He's better defensively than Bo Bichette. You move Bo to second base and bam, there it is. So that obviously Donaldson and Bautista are the right choices, but I just wanted to throw some love to Troy Tulowitzki.
Yeah, Guy just wants to show how many Blue Jays he could name. Says Ezekiel, you know what? Fun names. I love Munenori, Monkey No Cramp, and of course Edwin's little buddy Ezekiel Carrera. Great team, guys.
I definitely didn't look it up on Baseball Reference as we were speaking. That's for sure.
All right, the next one. Who is your favorite obscure Blue Jay of all time and why?
Jesse, do you want to lead us off? I mean, I could name 5 or 6, but I mean, I'm going to say what comes. We almost can. I want to name 2. The first guy that comes to mind for me is I was a huge fan of Frank Catalanato.
Sure. 6-hit game, Frank Catalanato.
Yeah, man. I mean, he was a lefty bat, a righty glove. He could play infield. I remember him more as an outfielder. He was a guy, Jesse, if you're looking it up on Baseball Reference, you're a god. If not, that is fine. I couldn't name you one Frank Catalanato stat except for the hit game. But just a guy who was in our organization in terrible times. And as a child, I remember going to those games and thinking, I really like that guy. Cool last name, Frankie C. And yeah, he's one of my favorite obscure Jays. I mean, as far as talent level goes, he's really a nobody, but a personal favorite of mine.
Who was your second? You had 2.
Oh, yeah. Geez. I was going to pass it over, but one of my favorite obscure Jays players, one of my favorite players of all time was Colby Rasmus.
Yeah,
this is a guy.
That's a Riley player right there.
That is, yeah. This is a guy who when I was in, I don't even know what age group I was in ball. I could have been in high school, but I was modeled my swing after him. And boy, I hit a lot of low ball pitches, low fastballs. Man, that guy, if you threw him a pitch around the ankles, he just hit it like a 9-iron. This is a guy with the, best OPS in playoff history, Jesse?
Correct. True stat.
Which
Colby
is
Rasmus, best playoff player of all time.
Which is ridiculous. Guy had great hair. This is another lefty. He just looked cool. One of the few guys to actually get a hit off their brother at the major league level. He actually hit he hit a double off his brother and basically, well, he got sent down shortly after that. But Colby Rasmus in the major leagues for a while, played with the Cardinals, and then played with the Jays, obviously, and then a cheating team afterwards. But I absolutely love one of the cooler guys in the league that I don't know how people took him. I certainly loved him. A modern day Kelly Gruber, if you will, maybe a little less charming, but I loved Colby Rasmus, man.
I have 3 names, and these are going to be some deep cuts. These are going to be some guys. Number 1, Casey Janssen is one of those guys. He was a closer for this team for years. I really liked him. Number 2 is Jesse Litch. I'll remember that. He was in the team in 2005, 2006, maybe. I like it because he threw a cutter, and I remember he had a stretch his rookie year where I think he won 9 out of 11 starts with a mid-3s ERA. I remember he I think he took a no-hitter into the 6th in his first major league game or something crazy for Jesse Litch. And plus his name was Jesse. And I always liked that. I like that the Blue Jays had one. But my all-time favorite Blue Jay, and this is a guy who's, I mean, my all-time favorite Blue Jay is Roy Halladay, but my all-time favorite deep cut Blue Jay might be Travis Snyder. I was certain that Travis Snyder was going to be a superstar. I loved that sweet left-handed swing. And I remember there was one game where he was 0 for 5 with like 4 strikeouts. I remember he swung and missed at a pitch. He broke his bat over his knee. The Jays ended up tying it in the 9th, and Travis Snyder had a walk-off hit in the 11th. And I thought, this is it. Travis Snyder's going to be a guy. He's going to do it. But Nonetheless, the lunchbox hero didn't live on, but Travis Snyder, my deep cut.
Well, that's not fair, Jesse. You got to say 3, so I get to say 3.
Sure.
Obviously, we're all about equality here on Buds and Blue Jays. So I'm going to go with another guy, another great guy for us in another dark time, another outfielder with Mr. Frank Catalano. That is Reed Johnson.
Yeah.
Socks up, Reed. I loved him. He was a leadoff hitter. At the games I went to and watched, he was a leadoff hitter, and he wasn't exactly the fastest. We were a very slow team back then, I think around 2003 to 2005. He played some good outfield, though. I mean, I doubt the guy even got Gold Glove Award or even a vote, sorry, but I think, like, from what I can remember, this guy was a great defender. Not a lot of home runs, not particularly good average, but just one of those guys that I remember as a child watching. I went to a lot of games as a kid with my grandfather, and I mean, just some of the players I remember. Reed Johnson for sure. High socks, wore number 3, cool goatee like myself. I mean, sure. just cool looking ball player, of course.
Guys, give us one more because we're running out of time here. So
I got just one obscure G
I guess
that I just gotta mention super quick. We got some John McDonald. I love John McDonald.
Johnny Mac, baby.
Yeah, that guy had like the highest work ethic I ever see. He seemed like a guy that would just like not even mind running into a wall repeatedly if it meant his team would win. And I always like guys like that. So John McDonald is my favorite obscure Blue Jay of all time. Okay, so the final question. You guys mentioned a couple weeks ago in your episode before we signed Kevin Kiermaier, and I think Riley, I'm going to quote you. I'm going to paraphrase you saying, "Okay, yeah, I don't want that guy anywhere near my ball club."
It's true. He
is one of the most hated guys. And then as soon as he was signed, it was like, "Oh, great, we got a sick at defense." So here's my question for both of you, and whoever wants to lead it off can. Who is one top 100 player that you wouldn't want on the Blue Jays based on their personality?
First, I would like to make reflect on the comments I made at a previous time. So obviously, we react. This is not a scripted show. A lot of the show, Jesse is an analytics guy. He's big brained. Me, I'm small brained but big heart. So obviously, I gotta say, I'm a Blue Jays players guy, and of course, as a Blue Jays fan, you kind of want to keep rival players out of your clubhouse. Look, at the end of the day, Kevin Kiermaier has been around the game a long time. I don't feel like he's that respected by Blue Jays fans, so I'm not too off colored by saying that. Now that he's on our team, we have to, accept him open-armedly and kind of give him a chance with this team. I wouldn't be surprised if he does poor, that he does get booed. If he does poorly, you see, hopefully he won't stoop to New York Yankees booing their own players kind of status. But I mean, if he does well, then yeah, we'll definitely celebrate his successes. But I feel like I will be hard on him and critique his play quite a bit. So I don't think I'm too off there. I'm not super excited. But Isaac, to address your question, my least favorite player in the major leagues, all based off personality, is Manny Machado, and it's not even close.
That is what I was going to say as well.
It is not even close. There are highlights among highlights. This is a guy who has made disgraceful plays on the ball diamond. Has absolutely zero respect for the players in the game. And if he comes to the Jays, he's going to do awesome things. He's not going to, because he's locked down with the Padres. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, if the guy has talent, he has talent. I feel like he doesn't put in the hard work, and I feel like he's just an asshole. I don't like the guy. He's an absolute joke on the ball field, man. I could have said the same thing about the Kansas City Royals team from the mid-2010s. Rest in peace, Yordan Ventura. I mean, but like when he was playing, like he was a pest, and he actually fought Machado. And, I can be a little more disrespectful to Manny because he's still with us and still playing at the major league level, but he hasn't done anything to improve his behaviorally. He's still immature. And I mean, I feel bad for Tatis Jr. Look who he's learning from. I mean, he has a lot of growing up to do, and you're not going to do any growing up when you're playing beside a guy who's an absolute nemesis, viewed upon by 29 other ball clubs.
So I'm with you on the Manny Machado slander here. My problem is, though, if he's with the Jays and he's good and he helps them win a World Series, then I can forgive it. Okay. But you're right about him being an asshole here, Riley. Like, I remember he stepped on the legs of some first baseman before on purpose, and there was a bunch of other stuff.
Jesus Aguilar. Aguilar.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Isaac, the real answer to your question is Trevor Bauer. And I don't think he's going to sign with any major league team ever again, especially not the Blue Jays. Once the Blue Jays decided to trade Roberto Osuna, like, we knew there was going to be a character thing. So Trevor Bauer is the real answer. But Manny Machado is also my pick here as well.
Agreed.
Right. I mean, I'm surprised there was no Garrett Cole talk, but
he's just a baby.
Interesting.
I'd rather him pitch for the Yankees because we're going to crush him this year. So
I would much rather have Garrett Cole than Manny Machado. Okay. There's no comparison there. I mean, between the two. I mean, there's a difference between being a poor sport and like whatever Machado is. I mean, yeah, Garrett Cole had his couple of immature moments, but it's definitely not his whole character.
All right.
All right, that'll do it for our episode here today, guys. Any closing thoughts? Isaac, anything you want to plug while you're here on the show today?
No, I'm just chilling. This was fun. I enjoyed hearing. I'm happy I got some of that passion out of Riley at the end there. That's a very clippable clip.
Yeah, well, I mean, hey, if I lived anywhere else but Canada, I probably wouldn't even cheer for a ball team. I'm a players guy at the end of the day. I love the players that we do bring to Toronto. Feel like it's a very healthy environment, and I feel like we have a good niche of guys. Yes, of course, Kiermaier played for a rival team, and I mean, that's hard, but we do have to accept him. I will certainly, it will be weird at first, and if he goes 0 for 4 in his first game with 3 strikeouts, I'll be pretty peeved off over that. I'm not gonna lie to you.
There will be a good chunk of that this year, I'm sure.
Yeah. So I mean, but if he makes Kevin Pillar-esque kind of catches out there and looks like, I mean, he probably will look like Kevin Pillar. I mean, he stole Gold Gloves from him, for God's sakes. I mean, there's a lot of animosity with that, but we got 162 games to showcase who's gonna. I mean, everyone looks good in blue, but who's going to do good in the Blue Jays uniform this year? I feel like there's going to be a lot of up years for some guys who maybe had down years, and maybe we see some guys slide. Maybe it be due to age or injury or whatever. All this stuff is bound to happen.
Lads, I can't wait. We are 50 days away from spring training, so it's almost here. We are now into 2023. I got a good feeling, guys. This is going to be the Blue Jays year in 2023. Who's with me?
Let's do it. Also, just in the comments, everyone, don't forget, think of a bet for Jesse and Riley to do if Nate Pearson plays 29.5 or more innings or less. So post that in the comments.
All right. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Let's go Blue Jays.
And go Canada, go.
Yes, sir.